Alright, so I get the clip in. I just had to push the cartridge down a little bit and turn it like maybe a 30-second wrench one direction to get the clip down. So now we're going to turn attention to these O-rings on the spout. And again, you just use a screwdriver. And you put it between the bias of the O-ring and just pop it up. Same with the top one. This is a two-finger job, so I started already. You really need two hands because you got to hold the O-ring with one finger or you pull it up with the other. And you'll notice there's two O-rings here, and then there's a copper or brass gasket at the base, which, depending on the faucet, may or may not come off. There's no real reason to remove it, so if it's not a problem, then just leave it alone. Now, what you want to do here is really clean the inside of the spout around the base of the faucet here, and everything else you see very well, especially if you have hard water, because those deposits from the hard water will abrade on these O-rings and make them tear up and make it leak again. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I put the new O-rings on from the kit. You'll notice there's an extra, some faucets need it, some faucets don't. Two ones on the top are pretty much the same. Yeah, they're the same O-rings, so there's two of them that are identical. And I take more grease, and I already greased the O-rings when I put them on, and I'm going to put even more grease on them now, because this is what makes them last. If you don't grease them, they don't last. The grease helps repel the hard water deposits and helps lubricate the joint here. Don't worry about getting extra around. You just wipe the base of the faucet when you're done. I like to put some inside the faucet handle assembly as well to make sure that everything here stays moving and doesn't stick, even on the threads of the retaining nut. Keeps it from seizing and getting stuck, because really that's what happens to these. They sit around, you know, who knows how long, and they have problems there, they seizes up. Alright, so now we're going to put the spout back on. I've lubricated the inside of it, and we're just going to slip it down over and wiggle it back and forth until it slips down over the O-rings. And you'll notice it turns very nicely now. It's not all stiff like they get after a while. So it's an easy way to work on that. So next I'm going to put the O-ring, the retaining nut back on, and we'll put the handle back. So we're going to put the nut back on. This doesn't have to be too tight. It just keeps the spout on. It doesn't really hold any water. It doesn't hold against full water pressure all the time, only when the faucet's running. So it's just more of a retainer to keep everything in place than it is to actually, make a waterproof seal. So you don't have to wail on this thing. I just like to snug it up a little bit using the rag and the pliers, just like how we took it off. Alright, so I tighten up the nut. Now this is probably the last and trickiest part of this entire job. Getting the stupid handle back on. Sounds simple. So, easiest way to get this started is to push the handle all the way so that the actuator inside comes all the way out to the top. So basically just squeeze the handle like the full up position. Now, note the position of the cartridge, which may not be perfectly centered, and mine's a little off to the left. So, you're going to put this on by tilting it backwards and then dragging it over the top of the faucet, and you can look through the groove in the top and slip it down. Now, if you do this right, it will go all the way down, and the handle will be functional with the faucet. It won't be sitting on top. Like if you try to pick this up, the handle will move right now. It won't be just stationary. Because if you don't have it on right, the handle won't move because it's just going to be sitting on top of that inner nut. So now the next thing to do is to put the screw back into here. And note the warning that says shut off water supply before disassembly, which is not entirely true because, like we mentioned before, you can do everything except for moving the cartridge without turning the water off. Obviously, the lawyers would probably say differently. So just make sure that screw is snugged up and check that the faucet operates normally. Obviously there's no water yet. So, nice and smooth now, and I'm just going to actually replace this old aerator as well. You see this doesn't want to come off, and this is just plastic, so I'm going to use the pliers on it since it doesn't really matter, and we're going to replace it with another identical one of these things. Now, these are actually kind of handy because you can spray everything in the sink. They have an O-ring up here. They're pretty much supposed to be universal. Now, when I do this, I like to take these off no matter what, even if it's a regular type, and run the water without any aerator to make sure there's no crud or junk or loose chunks of grease that come out when you first turn the water on. So make sure the faucet's all the way off, make sure there's no spare parts, and I'm going to turn the water on and we'll test this out. Alright, now water's back on, so don't open this too much at first because there's probably going to be a lot of air. So if you open a lot, you get a bath. Don't ask me how I know this. See, it's a very nasty spray pattern, but it's working. Swivel is good, and there's air, yeah. And hot water, hot. Cold water is cold. So now all we do is put an aerator on it and snap that cap back on the top. And done. Last step. Everything's complete. And wipe the grease. Works great now. All the settings. Shuts off, no leakage, nothing around the base. And now I have a sprayer nozzle that easily switches from stream to shower. These things don't last so long because they get crumbed up inside with water deposits. You can just soak them or you can just replace them. They're only like $2 or $3. You may still have air in some of your lines after this, so it'd probably be a good idea to shut off the water to the whole house to, you know, check the bathtub and everything. At least someone doesn't get a surprise. I hope this video helps someone with a Moen Single Handle faucet fix any of the problems that they usually have. And for about $30–40 in parts, maybe some tools if you don't have any. It's an easy way to get a faucet that works like brand new again. It feels like brand new. All the moving parts are part of the cartridge and you replace them as part of this. So certainly cheaper than hiring the plumber and easy enough to do in only a few minutes.